Can you share a memorable patient story that had a big impact on you?
So I think this was actually quite recent. I do a bit of clinical practice here, and we had this gentleman whose blood sugar had really gone down. Was a diabetic patient, injecting themselves, but I think they had been gone for a while without eating anything at all. And so they had collapsed at home, and we really looked like we were going to lose that man because things were quite bad, and veins were nowhere to be found. Tried all sides to get a vein, and it was quite difficult. And you could see that the patient is now gasping. Yeah, but eventually we managed to get a tiny little vein. Went in, and 2 minutes later he was up and was talking, and it was quite intriguing for me and even for the relatives who were there. So such things do happen, and as I said earlier, it's a satisfying career. And the gratification we get from such experiences.
Okay. All right, welcome back to the Nature of Work podcast, where we go behind the scenes of fascinating professions and uncover what it truly takes to thrive in today's working world. Today, we'll be going behind the scenes of a profession and field that touches each and every one of us, medicine. If you've ever dreamed about becoming a doctor, have a loved one in the medical field, or maybe you're just curious about what happens behind hospital doors, you're in for a treat today. Our guest today is none other than Dr. Mushayamano, who is currently the head of clinical services at Cimas Healthcare Group. We will dive into the realities of medical school, the challenges and rewards of the medical profession, and what it's like to serve at the front lines of healthcare in Zimbabwe. Welcome, Dr. Mushayamano. We're absolutely honored to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so maybe could you just tell us, who is Dr. Mushayamano?
Okay, so Travolta is first of all a medical doctor. Okay, but I'm also into music a lot. So I do love music, and it has an effect, a calming effect. And yeah, I even play acoustic guitar, piano, even lira.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's really who I am.
Okay, that's really fascinating. And when did you learn to play all these instruments?
In medical school, actually.
Wow.
So when I was in medical school, I stayed at a boarding house, and the boarding house was church-owned, and the rentals were subsidized, and they would encourage us to then participate in the church. Yeah. So most of the boys would then participate by joining the band, and play one or two instruments. So that's how I really started. So when I got there, there was no keyboardist. So, but the keyboard was there, but no one really played. So I started learning. So a guitarist was teaching me how to do the chords on the piano, and that's how I started playing the piano and the guitar as well.
All right, no, that's really fascinating. Maybe I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here, but I hear that medical school is very demanding, and there's always a need to balance, your schoolwork, and there's hardly ever any time to do anything else. So how did you manage to then have time to also do music and to learn all these instruments?
Yeah, so for me, I think I was lucky being strategically positioned at the boarding house, which already just set me up to have extracurricular in the church. But it's true that medical school, the training is quite intense, and it requires a lot of mental agility to go through it, and it takes away a lot of free time.
Yeah.
Because it's really big and a lot you need to learn during a very short period of time. So it is quite intense, and but just getting a hobby that is stimulating for the mind, which I think for me, playing instruments and music is one of them. You just it's not just a hobby to have fun, but it also is a bit stimulating for the mind, and that helps a lot managing
the pressures of medical school. Right, and which medical school did you go to?
Trained locally at the University of Zimbabwe.
Okay, all right. And what inspired you to pursue medicine?
I don't think there is anything specific, to be honest. I think during my time, medicine was one of the regarded best options if you're coming out of a sciences class. So we really didn't have much career guidance or much. I didn't even have any contact with medical school with what's done there before I joined. So there wasn't much to say impacted my choice.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I even started off by going into actuarial science. So after A level, my first choice was actually actuarial science, and I realized I didn't like it that much, and then came back into the science as well. And that was the best decision I've ever had to make.
Okay, yeah. And so would you say there was a defining moment? I know you've already highlighted that you chose it because it was what was regarded the best career move to take at the time. But do you think that there was a specific moment or someone, a specific person that may have influenced your decision to go for medicine?
Yeah, I think my uncle always thought I should get into medical school. And even when I was saying I want to be an actuary, going to actuarial sciences, he always just said that medicine is the best choice for you. Medicine is the best choice for you. So I think he probably had that influence for me to really regard medicine. And even when I came back because I spent about a month or half a semester in Bulawayo, the National University of Science, taking up actuarial science. And when I reverted back to Harare to join the medical school, he was quite happy. And I also understood why he always pushed me towards medical school.
Yeah. Okay. No, that was a very brave decision. At this juncture, we'll just take a short break and we'll be back shortly. At this particular juncture, we would like to thank the Turkish Cafe and Restaurant for giving us a venue for this episode. For your next coffee date, please do find your way to 41 Churchill, Alex Park, and have a great time. Welcome back. We are with Dr. Mushayamano, and you were just telling us that your uncle had a really great influence on your career choice, and you were so happy to diverge from actuarial science back to the medical field. I think that was really brave, because I think most students, I for one, actually went to university, chose a program, thought about changing, but I didn't because of the worry of backlash, with family members and the likes. But at the end of it all, I think I was quite happy with my choice as well. Yeah. So let's go down memory lane a bit. What was your high school journey like?
I think for me, as I mentioned earlier, my uncle was quite influential. And I remember I would go to his house over the weekends to go do some mathematics. So by the time I got to O-level and A-level, I really didn't struggle much with mathematics. I was quite brilliant in mathematics, to the point that I even took further mathematics at A-level. So I think I'd been already prepared to be mentally sharp, and I can't say I really struggled. So my high school journey was really one of those where you could almost say I was a nerd.
Oh, really? Okay. And the arts, were they also as easy for you to handle as the sciences?
Not quite. I didn't really have much of an artistic touch. I did take up literature in English at O-level, but I always found it difficult for me to actually excel compared to science. But by the time I was at A-level, I would even get 100% in mathematics easily.
Wow.
Yeah. So there was a big difference for me between arts and commercials and sciences.
Okay. And what was your combination at A-level?
At A-level, I did mathematics, physics, chemistry, and then further mathematics.
I respect people who did physics, because I got a B at O-level and I'm still very proud of that grade, and because I recognize how difficult physics is. So that's quite a feat you conquered there at A-level. And what other combinations can people who want to become doctors take at A-level?
Yeah, so the key subject would be chemistry.
Okay.
That's non-negotiable. So you have to have chemistry as a background, and combine it with either mathematics and physics or biology. So either you can do maths, physics, chemistry, or maths, biology, chemistry. That's the routine, particularly for the Zimbabwean universities.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you then come across physics theories when you're in medical school, or does the focus shift and become totally all about biology once in medical school?
So you still do come through physics principles, especially when you are doing things like X-rays and radiation. There is a lot of physics involved. However, I will admit that it does sound like biology tends to be more relatable to medicine than physics. But apparently, it seems that the physicists do very well in medical school. So some of the best students would have done physics. It is a way of opening up your mind to then absorb medicine quite easily. So the best doctors would have done physics. That's my personal opinion.
Of course. Okay. And what was your journey through medical school like? Were there any surprises or any challenges that you faced?
Not particularly. So for me, medical school wasn't very tough, and I think it also comes because medicine is it's like a science but an art as well. So a lot of the things I figured they come naturally to me. I didn't struggle to grasp concepts in medical school, and to the point where I even took up an additional degree during training. So I graduated in between in medical school.
Okay.
And, so it's a course within the curriculum for medicine, but you can convert it into a degree if you take up more. So for me it was fun and I enjoyed, and I even then started teaching in medical school because of that qualification. So you then start to teach first and second year students as you are progressing into your final years of medical school. So I had so much fun. It wasn't that tough for me.
Okay, wow. And which degree did you take on in addition to medicine?
It's human physiology.
Human physiology. Okay. Right. And what is it related to medicine? Of course, I'm sure physiology is part of your medical theories and the likes. How does it then intersect with your medical degree?
I would say it forms the backbone actually.
Okay. Yeah.
It forms the backbone of how systems work. How the different systems function. That's physiology. A thorough understanding of physiology then gives you a very good baseline to then understand clinical practice. And for me, having taken that physiology, it actually made me one of the best students. I was even given the university prize in third year. That was after I had done physiology.
Okay.
So I understood concepts much deeply than a fellow student.
Okay. And if our viewers would like to take a degree in human physiology only, what kind of career paths can they look forward to? Right.
So the curriculum with the university was changed. It was revised, and it's still possible, but you still have to go through medical school entrance.
Okay.
The university doesn't offer physiology as a separate. Human physiology is a separate degree, which you can just enter directly. You have to enter through currently it's biomedical science.
Okay.
That's what they have revised the curriculum to. So what we used to do is no longer available for current medical students. It's now quite different.
Okay.
So with different, Education 5.0 came with a different curriculum, and you have to pass through biomedical science.
Okay. All right. And currently, what is your specialty, if you have one?
I haven't specialized yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm still doing general practice. But I like to think of myself as a surgeon.
Okay.
Yeah.
You like to think of yourself as a surgeon. Why?
I had so much fun in surgery.
Okay. Yeah. So are you looking forward to specializing later on in the future then? All right. And what other specialties are there that could be of interest to other people?
So generally, they are surgical fields, and then there is internal medicine, like being a physician, and then there is gynecology and obstetrics to do with pregnancy and women health. The surgical fields are then divided into different aspects. So you can get orthopedic surgeons dealing with the bones, you get neurosurgery, brain and nerves, you get general surgery, and so forth and so on. So there is quite a lot to take up, and you discover which specialty you will get into because you transition medical school. It's not something that I think you plan ahead before you get into medical school.
Okay.
You have to actually experience each of those in medical school and even in practice. So going back to specialize, there are even regulations that you can't specialize soon after finishing medical school.
Okay.
Because you have to get some form of field experience, and even to discover yourself which fields you really like to specialize. So it's a journey, because for me, I initially thought I would be a physician, and having done physiology is more linked to being a physician, internal medicine. And people thought, naturally physiology, then want to specialize in internal medicine and become a physician, which I think I'm going to break.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to the surgical field even after having done physiology.
Okay. So right after medical school, everyone who would have finished their medical degree has to first get into general practice before choosing their specialty. All right. No, that's fine. Maybe at this point we may want to then come back a bit to something that you highlighted about career guidance. Do you think that it's important for students in high school to go and volunteer at a hospital or volunteer in any medical field before deciding to take medicine as their major?
That would be a difficult thing to do, to volunteer at a hospital per se, or clinics, because there is also patient confidentiality, privacy. So there are laws that govern that.
Okay.
You can only interact with patients either through when you are in training in medical school or when you are a practitioner. So those laws are difficult to circumvent. However, their contact with to try and get an idea of how medical schools are like. There are some, even the university does some student days where there are exhibitions and just giving students pictures of the picture of how medical school is like. So those kind of events, I would encourage people considering getting into medical school to really be on the outlook for them and give them a picture. And it even stimulates certain fascination about medicine. And that's what you really need if you are considering coming into medical school. You have to have that natural fascination about the medical field for you to then find the journey rewarding.
Okay. Speaking of medical school, which paths can people take besides going the route of O-level, A-level, medical school? How else can one find themselves in medical school?
So different medical schools have different routes. And as I mentioned, the Education 5.0 has changed a number of things. In the past, you could get into medical school via mature entry. So for instance, you would have done a medically related degree program, be it nursing, be it anatomy, all these medically related radiography. You could then apply later on to medical school and get a mature entry as a route. But at the moment, I think that has been revised via the Education 5.0.
Okay.
But for outside Zim, I think you'd then have to really inquire from different institutions what their criteria is.
Okay.
So for the most part, in Zimbabwe, the main route now is through A-level. Then you need to directly into medical school.
Okay. No, that's fine. So you've heard it, folks. If you want to get into medical school currently, according to the education system in Zimbabwe, you have to go through the route of O-level, A-level, and then you could just be the GP that we could be visiting next. Let's take a short break at this particular point. And we're back. We're with Dr. Mushayamano, and he was just taking us through how you could be getting yourself into medical school. Doc, now we'd like to know, what does a day in your life as a doctor look like? What are your responsibilities currently?
Okay, I'm not sure whether I would be the typical doctor example, because my portfolio for now is really quite expanded. because I have a lot of management and administration that I do. But before then, if you are purely into clinical practice, the typical day is really about patients, seeing patients, and a majority of the times they are easy cases. But time and again you do get very difficult to crack type of patients. And for me, that is where the fascination and satisfaction actually came from. So just seeing flus for me is a boring day. But having something that is mentally challenging, that you have to think and apply your mind, and you tend to get that time and again. Yeah.
Okay. And what's the most rewarding part of your job?
Is when you actually make a difference. So when you treat a patient correctly and see the change and the improvement in real time, in the real patient, it really comes with personal gratification and satisfaction, which is very rewarding. Yeah. Very, very rewarding, and that's important, because people, when we are in a career, you need a job that is satisfying to you.
Yeah.
And that medicine will give you. Because we find as an adult, most of your time spending it at work, and then at home. So your work constitutes a lot of the time, and you've got to have personal gratification and satisfaction from it. And medicine is right up there.
Okay. Whilst of course there's personal gratification from knowing that you're taking care of people and helping them heal, what is the challenging part of that job?
The challenging part is at times you may not get it the first time, and you have to rethink, and at times there are even mistakes that people can make in medicine. Drug mistakes, dosing, and so forth.
Yeah.
And having to deal with the consequences of having made a mistake and accepting the mistake and coming up and apologizing. So that can be quite challenging. Then now something that's also coming up is the patients are being quite litigious. So litigation is now coming up in our setup, and that also presents a huge challenge with patients now knowing their rights and really coming after practitioners for minor errors and so forth. And you can find yourself being dragged to court and all sorts of things. So those will be the challenging aspects of the career. Yeah.
And how do you bounce back as a medical doctor, because your work is so important, and a life of a person depends on the decisions that you make. So if you do make a mistake as a doctor, how do you then bounce back from that and get your confidence back?
So I think it's something that comes partly with the personality, because the type of person you are matters on how you accept errors and mistakes, and the maturity as well. Because what's actually satisfying is when you own up to a mistake and be honest to a patient. And in fact, those kind of patients will respect you more and own up to mistakes and open up and tell them and just have corrective measures. It is actually satisfying in its own. So it comes with time and maturity and practice that you will be able to handle such situations.
Okay. Let's go back to your portfolio of responsibilities. So you said that now you're also focusing on managerial aspects of your job. How many hours a day do you spend at work?
Well, physical at work is normally an 8 to 4:30 job.
Okay.
But with management, even at home, so we have extra work that follows you at home that you need to address. So it's never 8 to 4:30 time. And even for those who do clinical practice, at times you are on call the whole night. So there are hostels where you actually be working overnight until morning. So it really varies. For me, I no longer do calls, but the managerial work does come.
And it has its own toll.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you may work late, just trying to do administrative work.
Okay. And how do you manage stress and maintain a work-life balance?
Right, so one of the things I mentioned already, the musical aspect of it, but I consider myself to really have been lucky to get a helpful partner, because that's also a very key area, that your spouse will have a huge impact on your mental health, how you handle pressure and stress. And I do encourage young people that they make that decision very deliberately, knowing that it's really going to have an impact on your mental health and how you manage stress. So for me, my partner is really quite ill.
Okay, well, that's great. And Doc, tell us, what are some common misconceptions that people have about being a doctor?
Well, it's difficult to speak for people, but I think one of the misconceptions is that doctors know it all. Which is not necessarily true. I will admit that there is actually a lot that we don't know. That we are still figuring out. And people may think each time they come to a doctor they are going to get all the answers. And that's really a misconception. At times we don't, and we do have to gain that courage to be frank with patients that at the moment we don't know what's going on with you. And we try our best to figure it out.
Okay. And what unique challenges do doctors face in Zimbabwe as compared to other countries?
So I think in Zimbabwe with economic hardships, one of the challenges you face is that some of the patients really can't meet some of the bills of the things you've been requiring. So it can really be frustrating for medical practitioners that you know what's needed, you need an ultrasound scan, you need an MRI, you need a number of tests done, but it's not always that patients will be able to pay for those. And it can be quite frustrating for you, and that's a challenge, I think, especially when you compare to the developed world. Such challenges they won't find, but in this part of the world, you may be stuck because patients can't afford what you intend to implement.
Okay. Whilst we're on that subject of patients, can you share a memorable patient story that had a big impact on you?
So I think this was actually quite recent. I do a bit of clinical practice here, and we had this gentleman whose blood sugar had really gone down. was a diabetic patient injecting themselves, but I think they had then gone for a while without eating anything at all. And so they had collapsed at home, and we really looked like we were going to lose that man because things were quite bad, and veins were nowhere to be found. Tried all sides to get a vein, and it was quite difficult. And you could see that the patient is now gasping. Yeah, but eventually we managed to get a tiny little vein. Went in, and 2 minutes later he was up and was talking, and it was quite intriguing for me and even for the relatives who were there. So such things do happen, and as I said earlier, it's a satisfying career. And the gratification you get from such experiences.
Okay, so Doc, how do you see the future of medicine evolving, especially with technology and AI? We know that Rwanda is already using AI technology to manage their supply chain and allocate resources efficiently to different clinics as and when needed. How do you think us as Zimbabweans can also make use of AI technology in the medical field?
Yeah, so AI is really a big thing, and it's going to revolutionize how we practice. There are certainly areas where AI is already being implemented currently in Zimbabwe. I am aware of an AI-enabled X-ray, the first of its kind, that is at one of our branches, and so AI is really coming on board. There are even AI-powered robotic surgery, which the first world, and in China they've already started doing that. AI type of diagnostics, especially with pathology, where AI can look at images and make a diagnosis. So these things are really coming on board, and we are making baby steps in Zimbabwe with accepting AI. So that's the future, really. Precision medicine and AI making real quick analysis of patients. So it's something that's on board, and we are preparing for it, and we know that it's already in the pipeline.
All right, and as we round up, Doc, what's one myth about doctors that you'd like to bust? I know you already said that there's that common misconception that doctors know it all, but what other myth would you like to bust?
Again, quite difficult to speak for people. Off here, I can't think of a myth. But maybe you do have a myth.
Unfortunately, I don't.
Nothing.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So we can always, if you do have one, dear viewer, please do let us know in the comments, and we can always then find out from Dr. Mushayamano and get back to you. And Doc, if you weren't a doctor, what career would you choose? I feel like I already know the answer to this though. Musician?
Yeah,
great. Fantastic.
So much fun.
Yeah.
Although it's a difficult career, because with our economy and financial burdens, it's not always
the go-to. Yeah, no, that's fine. Dr. Mushayamano, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to come and share with our viewers and us all the insights about the medical profession. We've learned a lot from you, and I'm sure that our viewers have too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right, cheers. For our listeners, if you're considering a career in the healthcare field, or maybe you just wanted to know what happens behind hospital doors, we really hope that our conversation with Dr. Mushayamano has given you a new perspective. Thank you so much for joining us on this podcast episode. Please leave a like, a review, and share the podcast with others that you think may benefit from this episode. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and remember, every profession has a story worth telling.